Like when I started, I didn't know what the first word was going to be. And I feel like that's where everyone gets stuck, because they're just staring at a blank screen and they're like, oh no, I don't know what to write about.
Yeah.
I think like what I started to do is I started to write everything out, like literally just splurge everything onto a page that I did, everything that I thought was relevant or even irrelevant as well on that one Microsoft Word page.
Yeah.
I just did everything in bullet points randomly, no order. There was no order to anything, because I knew that as long as I got all my ideas out there, I could start organizing it into different sections. So that's how I started, really.
Yeah, I pretty much did the same thing. It was just like, just splurge all like different bullet points onto like one page, like every idea that I could think that might be relevant.
Yeah.
And after doing that, it was then, okay, now I can just trim down or pick out like, this is good, this isn't so good. Like it's then a lot easier to trim down than it is to put too little and then try and build it out.
Because when you put too little, I feel like you start waffling, and you waste so many words that you could have used to your advantage as well. Because with your personal statement, you're meant to be persuasive. If you just start waffling, you're not really telling the university why you want to study that particular course or why you're interested in that particular course.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a waste, really.
Getting started early on is really good. Like with writing a personal statement, like don't leave it till the last minute, because like, otherwise you're just sort of in for like this kind of world of stress, which is like you definitely never want to be stressed with this kind of thing. So
and I feel like especially for those who are starting their applications early, because for certain courses or for certain universities you have an early application date.
Yeah.
So for me, because I was applying to, because Oxford was one of my universities that I was applying to, my application date was on the 10th of October, I believe.
Oh.
That's pretty much the same for like medic students, and I don't know if anyone else has to do that. Maybe nursing, but I'm not too sure. But I know definitely those who are in medicine, they had to apply early as well. And so the best advice I could give is like the earlier you start, so towards the end of year 12, that is probably ideal, because when you get to September, you've basically got only basically 2 months to write your statement. And I don't think that's long enough. Even though 2 months sounds long, when you're actually doing it and you're studying A-levels at the same time, it can get very overwhelming.
For sure. Like, I think it's definitely great advice to just be like, start thinking about it as early as you can. Like, start looking at what options you have.
Yeah. And I feel like the earlier you start as well, the more you can get done. I think I saw something online that said, you know, the MOOC courses, they're quite a few weeks long. So what, 3 to 8 weeks, roughly?
Usually,
yeah. So imagine your course that you were doing is 8 weeks long. That's basically 2 months. So imagine you do that from September and your application is in October. I don't think you want to be in that position.
No, definitely not.
Do you remember how you wrote your personal statement?
Oh God. I mean, I can remember like after doing the whole splurge of like putting everything down, like I think so I did like the first draft by basically after I got the massive, I had like another document open for like actually writing the first draft, and then on the other document I had open was like everything that I'd written. So I kind of like pulled across like, okay, this is good, I want to keep this, let's not have that one in. And then I guess I sort of just did that process of like, as I did the drafts more and more, it was like, okay, I can make that more concise, or I can maybe expand more on this point if I think, oh, that should take up more space than this one.
Yeah, I think another important point as well, because on average, they say that the reason why you want to study that course and your passion and your persuasion for applying to the university should take up about 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
And then everything else is like skills and a summary. And I think that when you have those notes on one page and then you have another document open to actually write something out, you can then easily organize your ideas and then find out how much does that particular section take. And then you'll realize maybe I'm talking too much about the skills and not so much about the actual course.
Yeah, I think it's very easy in a personal statement to get worked up about what words you're using and, like, am I sounding almost like posh enough and academic enough? And, it's important to sound you are being formal, but I think don't overdo it, and make sure you've got good grammar, what you've written is like it looks good. And I think, like we were saying before, like when it comes to starting, like just write out sentences, because it's a lot easier to like edit something and fix, like you can just write out a really awful looking sentence, but then be like, oh, I know what I want to say with it, I can just trim it back. But once you're looking at it, you know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, okay, if I change this, like that, that's how it works for me. I think that works the best way.
Yeah, I think in terms of writing out your sentences, it doesn't even have to be perfect English at first.
Yeah.
You just write it how you think it, and then you put your thoughts all onto a page. That way, after you read it, you can say, like you said, oh, that doesn't look right, I could change that, but at least you have it on the page. Because the hardest thing people try to do is to try and word everything perfectly in their head already.
On like the first go. Like yeah.
And then write it onto the page. And then that's the worst way to go about it, because in the end, you won't have anything on the page and you'll forget a lot of things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's best to just write everything out first and edit it later.
Just like, make sure you show, like, once you've written like a go, show it off to people. Just like, could you have a like quick go, like just look at this, your teachers, friends, family, just like have a quick read, see what they say, what they think about it. And that way then you'll be able to be like, okay, this needs to change. Or if somebody says something, you don't have to agree with it always. You can just be like, oh yeah, I think fair point, but I think it works better like this. And
because I feel like when you ask so many different people for their different opinions, you're going to end up hearing some things about your personal statement that you don't like.
Yeah.
Fair enough if it's in terms of grammar, because you might be like, oh, I don't know if that sounds right, but then in the end you'll realize, oh yeah, that does make it sound better.
Yeah.
But some people's opinions doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. I remember being in that position, and the way how I would write and the way how another person would write, one of my friends, they were very formal. And I wouldn't say I was too formal. I could be formal, but not on their level of formal.
Yeah.
When I used some of their words that they would usually use, it just didn't sound like me.
Yeah.
So I just completely removed it because I didn't want to sound like someone that I'm not. Yeah,
exactly. And like that's so important in a personal statement. It is you who's writing it. You have to sound like you. It's another good point for like the personal statement is it is a personal statement. Like it is about you and why you are the best candidate that they have. Like I think it is really important in a personal statement to like show your personality through it and show your passion.
Yeah.
Like they've already got all like the important but like kind of more boring side of things of like you've got like your grades, how you're doing, what are your projections. They've got all that information already. Like personal statement is really for you want to get you across. Like why are you like it's really difficult to write about though. That's why it's so hard, because you don't want to sound too like, oh look at me, I'm so great, but you also do. You want to do it in such a way that's it shows your passion.
I think as well, passion is so important, but also, don't be afraid to show yourself off, because in the end of the day, you have to get into that university, or you want to get into that university, and you want to make yourself sound like you're the most ideal candidate for that particular course.
Yeah.
So I would say probably don't be too humble. Like exaggerate how much you want to study that particular course, because universities will love students who seem eager to study there and study that particular course. Otherwise, if you're not that eager, then they might see you as someone that's not very serious.
Yeah.
So it's just really important to boast about how much you love that topic, how much you love that subject, and why you want to go there, really. there's a reason why you want to do that particular degree or that particular career, and there's always going to be something deep down that triggered your interest.
Yeah.
I think a personal statement really encourages you to reflect on yourself as well. I remember there were some times when I was applying to neuroscience and I was like, why do I want to study neuroscience? I tried to remember like the very first day that I made a decision that I wanted to study neuroscience. I realized there actually were loads of instances in my life personally and, you know, in school that triggered me into realizing maybe this is for me. Because I realized I like understanding how the brain works. And for example, my own family, not just mental health, but also like how the brain works has influenced our lives.
Yeah.
Also in school, I was like, oh, I quite enjoy learning biology and chemistry. So is there a degree that merges the two together?
Yeah.
At first I thought it was psychology, but then I studied psychology as an AS level. And then I realized that's definitely not for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up doing the summer schools for neuroscience to discover whether that was for me or not. And I realized I do enjoy it. A personal statement is not just, I like this topic because more like your story. It's a story of why you started liking it. Why do you want to study it? Why do you want a career in that particular degree?
Yeah, like it's definitely like you've got something in there that's like, you know, it's kindling interest. Like, you know, you've got like a little spark or something just going. You're just like, I kind of into this. And then personal statement, like, I found it was just like, oh yeah, I know I've got the interest, but then it really like, you know, fanned the flames of being like, I really want to do this. Like, and that's what university is definitely about. It's about getting the passion you have. I keep saying the passion, but you know, it is really important, like what you love. And you know, I think the personal statement, that's what that's about as well. It's about showing I bring this and this to the table. This is why I'm a great candidate, and I just really love this, like whatever topic it is. Like I think as long as you show that and that you've shown the drive and the initiative to do different things, to get engaged, I think, you know, it's like the basic blocks, I guess, but it can be difficult to think. But once you spend a bit of like time, like you say, like reflecting on it, like, oh, why am I interested in it? Why am I looking at this? Like, this looks good. Like, once you do that, you then, it's like, yeah, like you have this kind of like light bulb moment. You're like, yes, that's why. Like,
yeah, I completely agree with you. It is kind of like a light bulb moment after you reflect, like, oh yeah, this is why I wanted to study this in the first place. And then you need to be able to transfer all of that energy and excitement onto that page.
Because I studied marine biology, and I applied to all universities that all the courses were marine biology, which meant my personal statement was very, like I could aim it very much at that course, which is great for me. But then I know for yourself, you had more courses to apply for.
That's the thing. With me, I applied for 5 universities just like everyone else, and about, I think it was 1, 2, 3. I think, yeah, 3 out of the 5 were neuroscience courses. And then the other 2, one was biomed, and then you later on specialize with the modules that you picked to study neuroscience. And then the 5th one was natural sciences, which is very broad. With natural sciences, you basically study like a little bit of everything under the biological sciences field.
Yeah.
So I couldn't just talk about neuroscience, but that was my aim though. I really did enjoy neuroscience. And so I was lucky in that respect, because even with the natural sciences one, I did my research in advance. And then I found out that with that university, you can specialize in neuroscience, even if you're studying natural sciences. So they understood from my personal statement why I picked that particular course. And the wording in your personal statement is so key, because you don't want to exclude any universities out, but you also want to show that you're passionate for a particular topic.
I definitely found it useful for like doing like the wider reading and doing online courses, because I could do things or get a taste for like, that's really interesting. I really want to know more about that. Perhaps that's the kind of university course I want to go down. So I think that's again why it's important to expose yourself to that, but also, you know, looking at universities, like, you know, look at a bit more than just like the league tables and things like that. Like, you know, they're really important, but you want to go somewhere that you can look at the uni and feel like, okay, I'd be at home here. I'd feel really like happy, and like also just the course, like make sure you choose a course that it covers what you want, and it allows you to really like explore your interests, I think.
I think as well, with different universities, even though on the page it says, for example, neuroscience, every university delivers that particular degree differently.
Yeah.
So in terms of assessment, modules, especially modules,
definitely.
and delivery of the content, so like lectures, workshops, they can all vary depending on the university you apply for.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in a particular aspect of that degree and you just apply to any university, you might not get what you are looking for.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Take into consideration as well. Like for example, the University of Southampton, in your first year, all of the biological sciences have the same core modules.
Yeah.
To get a broader understanding of how the whole body works. Whereas other universities might not offer the same thing. They might just be solely focused on neuroscience.
You just go straight in, yeah.
And I feel like some might be more flexible, and that might be something that you like.
Yeah.
But it could be something that you don't like, and you actually just want to study that particular degree.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's definitely a really good point. It's like, look at the modules that you would be doing and making sure you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, I want to go to this university because they do it like this. I'm less keen on this university because of like, oh, maybe there's not the module choices that you want, or perhaps it's too linear, too broad, too narrow. Like, you really consider like all these things. It's really important to ask questions. Like, I think, you know, something I found like always a bit like going to open days, like I know they're going to be different because they'll be virtual, a lot of them now, but I remember going to the open days and asking questions. I'd sometimes be like, oh, I don't know, like, is it a stupid question? Like, I think it's, you know, don't hesitate, like ask anything. Like, you know, working as an ambassador, I love answering any questions that like students have, and lecturers as well. Like, I think if you want to know something, asking the students and the lecturers is the best way to immerse yourself into what it's like. And again, the virtual open days will be like that as well. Like, definitely sign up to as many as you can to expose yourselves to like all these students from different places and what they've loved and what they've enjoyed. Like, really important.
I think just to add on that, there's no such thing as a stupid question. To you, you might think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Even though that could be the question that will determine whether you go to that university or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Out as soon as possible, because that's why we as student ambassadors are there, and the lecturers as well. They want students to go to their university because they want to. Another thing as well is, I would say, don't be afraid to contact lecturers or university outside of the open days as well, because you might have a particular question about a particular course and you might want a little bit more information on that. It could maybe some of the research that they're doing, and the lecturers, they love to talk about what they're teaching, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, so they'll be happy to answer any of those specific questions that you have. So don't be afraid to do that. Yeah.